Okay, let's dive in. Today we're looking at source material from the website of the Pranic Healing Gurgaon Center. So
Yeah.
our plan is really to unpack what's on their site. Try to understand what pranic healing is, at least from their perspective, how they see it works, and what kinds of benefits they're claiming. And right at the core, it seems, is this big idea. Everything boils down to energy. They call it prana, or life force. And what really jumps out right from the get-go is this claim that we humans, we actually have this built-in ability to work with this energy.
That's exactly the foundation in the material, yeah. They describe modern pranic healing founded by Grandmaster Choa as both an art and science. The whole focus is on interacting with what they call the human energetic field. So working with this life force energy, using what the site calls universal laws of nature. So yeah, when they talk about prana or this life force, what they mean, according to this source, is that basic energy behind, well, pretty much everything. Our physical body, how we connect with others, our thoughts, emotions.
Even success and prosperity.
Even success and prosperity, yeah. It's all rooted in this energy, according to them.
Right. So the big promise here, based on this source, is if you balance these energy patterns, life just gets, well, easier, more joyful.
That's the gist of it.
And that idea you mentioned, that we're just born with this knack for feeling and balancing energy,
Yeah.
that's pretty fascinating. What specific things do they say these techniques can help with? The website must list some examples.
Oh, it does. Quite a few, actually. They present them almost as different uses or outcomes. For instance, achieving sharp focus. They even mention this being good for kids' concentration.
Okay, focus. What else?
Things like learning to live and feel better, which sounds like, self-improvement, discovering a new you.
Right.
They talk about fast-track recovery, maybe shortening healing times. And then there's stuff for everyday life, too, like ways to breeze through work, boosting productivity, cutting down on stress.
Breathe through work. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, who wouldn't? They also mention gaining youthful energy, feeling stronger, more vital, and just a general daily boost of energy so you feel like you're running on, full blast.
Running on full blast. Okay, so beyond those general points, does the material get more specific about how these techniques apply to, say, major areas of life?
It does, yeah. It goes into more detail using their specific description, like for relationships, for example.
Okay, relationships. How does energy work fit in there?
Well, they say the techniques can help clear out disturbing energies and negative thought forms, stuff that might be causing friction. The goal, apparently, is to increase love and harmony.
So like an energetic cleanse for relationships. What about helping other people or protecting your own connections?
Yeah, they mention that too. Using the techniques to help others with their relationships, but also learning how to protect your own. The site talks about understanding what makes relationships struggle, or fall, as they put it, and then building energetic shields.
Shields, huh?
And it brings up this concept called the 7 rays. The idea there, it seems, is that it helps you understand people better by seeing everyone as a unique personality type, needing a sort of tailored approach.
The 7 rays. Recognizing individuality energetically?
Right.
That's different. Okay, what about goals? Like success, money. How does pranic healing supposedly connect there?
That's another big one they cover. The source basically frames understanding energy as the key to unlocking your potential for success. They mentioned achieving dreams, not just with the law of attraction, which lots of people know about, but also something they call the law of entitlement.
Law of entitlement. That's not one you hear every day. Does the source explain how that works compared to attraction?
It doesn't really go deep into the mechanics of entitlement versus attraction in the material we saw, but it lists as another principle they use. They do mention specific practices for prosperity, though, like a prosperity meditation.
Okay.
And using the law of interconnectedness for distant healing, which they say also applies to drawing prosperity towards you, even from afar.
Ah, that interconnectedness idea again.
Exactly. And they also list learning secret laws of prosperity and using specific prosperity mudras and mantras. So the whole approach seems to be about, first, finding and clearing out energetic blocks to your success, and then second, balancing your energy to attract and hold on to prosperity.
Right, removing blocks and actively drawing things in. Makes sense. Now, health. That seems like a really obvious place for energy work. What do they say?
Absolutely. The source describes the health techniques as simple, fast, and safe. A big part of learning it, according to the site, is understanding energetic anatomy.
Energetic anatomy, like chakras and auras.
Precisely. Learning about the energy body. And they really stress the safe part, saying you don't have to worry about, like, catching someone's illness while you're working with them. The material even mentions a cookbook approach.
Cookbook approach.
Meaning it's step by
It
step.
seems like it, yeah. They suggest it makes it easy enough for anyone to learn, not needing some special gift.
Okay. And that law of interconnectedness, does that come up with health too? It does. They talk about using that same principle for healing from a distance.
So you don't need to be physically there.
Apparently not, because it's all connected energetically is the idea. And the source really encourages learning to be your own doctor, healing yourself and also being able to help other people. And they're very clear. It's a no touch, no drug, no instrument method.
No touch, no drugs. That's quite specific. Okay, moving beyond the physical. The site also talks about spirituality. How do they frame that? Is it religious?
They make a point of saying very clearly that pranic healing is not a religion. They describe it as pure spirituality. The emphasis seems to be on teachings with techniques. So practical application, not just belief systems.
Techniques like what?
Well, they mention specific practices like arhatic yoga. This, they say, is connected to things like awakening kundalini energy.
Kundalini, okay, I've heard that too.
Right. And increasing awareness, working towards achieving oneness.
So arhatic yoga, kundalini. What are the goals the site mentions for these spiritual practices within pranic healing?
The goals they list include achieving illumination, building a stronger link with your higher soul.
Higher soul.
That's the term they use, yeah. And also gaining better intuition by activating the crown chakra. Ultimately, the site says the whole spiritual journey they offer is about getting to know your true essence.
Okay, wow. That covers a lot of ground. Health, relationships, success, spirituality. It's quite a broad spectrum of claims and applications. Let's switch gears a little. How does someone actually learn all this? What does the source say about courses or getting involved with the center?
Right, the practical side. The material mentions the center offers, various kinds of courses. They list examples like a basic course, then advanced, psychotherapy, crystal healing, courses focused specifically on spirituality, and others. These seem to be the main way you learn the different techniques they talk about.
And didn't they highlight one specific thing, something free maybe, right on the site?
They did, yes. It's quite prominent. A free meditation on Twin Hearts.
Twin Hearts meditation, okay.
Yeah, and they give the details. It's online using Zoom. Monday and Wednesday evenings at 7:30 p.m. and Friday mornings at 10:00 a.m.
And what's the point of that specific meditation, according to them? Is it just a taster?
It seems like it's presented as more than just a taster, although it probably serves that purpose too. They say it's a way to actually experience energy, learn more about pranic healing concepts, explore subtle energies, and they describe it as a gateway to happiness. So yeah, positioned as a really accessible starting point if you're curious.
Makes sense. Give people a direct experience.
Exactly. And the source gives a bit of background on the center itself, too. It's the GMCKS Pranic Villa Healing Center in Gurgaon, and it's affiliated with the World Pranic Healing Foundation, Inc., which is based in Manila. Their stated mission is helping people discover a happier and better you.
Okay. And their overall philosophy?
They reiterate that view of pranic healing as a science and art, using life force energy. And they stress again that it doesn't require, special psychic gifts or anything. It's framed as just a skill, a useful skill anyone can learn for helping yourself and others. They specifically mention it being relevant for modern challenges like stress, lack of time. And note, it's often practiced alongside meditation for relaxation, stress relief, and improving health and relationships.
So, positioned as a kind of practical toolkit for modern living, did the site mention anything else the center does? Any other activities?
Yes, actually. There was a mention of a charitable initiative. It's called the Food for Smile 1 Meal Per Day Feeding Program.
Food for Smile. Tell me about that.
It started back in 2015, apparently, and it focuses on giving nutritious meals. They call it an all-in-bowl power meal to underprivileged kids. The site presents this issue, feeding these children, as a solvable problem that individuals can contribute to.
Okay, so that adds another layer to what they do, beyond the healing work itself. Now, before we wrap this up, there's something really crucial we need to cover. The source material includes some very clear disclaimers, and these are super important for context.
Oh, absolutely vital. The material is very, very explicit on this. It states that pranic healing techniques are not meant to replace conventional medicine, what they call allopathic medicine.
Not a replacement. So what then?
They present it as something intended to complement standard medical treatment.
Complementary.
Yes. And the instruction they give is clear. If your symptoms persist, or if the illness is severe, you should immediately consult a medical doctor. That's in addition to seeing a certified pranic healer if you choose to do that.
Right. Consult a doctor regardless if it's serious.
Exactly. They also make the point that pranic healers themselves are not medical doctors, although they do note that people who are already medical doctors can also train and become pranic healers.
Got it. So healers aren't doctors, but doctors could be healers.
Correct. And maybe the most critical point they make in the disclaimers is this. Pranic healers should not be making medical diagnoses, and they should not be prescribing medications or any other conventional medical treatments.
Okay. It's very important clarification. It
Yeah.
really sets the boundaries for how they say the practice should interact with regular healthcare.
Right. So we've done a pretty deep dive here into the source material from the Pranic Healing Gurgaon Center website. We've explored their core concept of prana, this life force energy, looked at how they claim it affects, well, almost everything: health, relationships, success, even spirituality. And we've touched on the techniques and practices, like that Twin Hearts meditation, that they offer as ways to actively manage this energy.
Yeah, and reflecting on that central idea the source keeps coming back to, this idea that everything is energy, and that we humans have this innate ability to interact with it, it definitely leaves you with a pretty big question to ponder, doesn't it?
Well, if we really do have this capability, like the source suggests, what does that imply about our own untapped potential? Our potential to maybe influence our own lives, our health, our well-being, just by learning to understand and sort of work with that energy.
That is a lot to think about. Hopefully this deep dive gives you, the listener, a clearer understanding of what this particular source material presents about pranic healing. Definitely some interesting ideas to mull over.